What is good, gang? Welcome back. First of all, thank you so much to everybody who has been sending in questions. It's been awesome hearing what intrigues you about the music, getting to talk about what you're responding to and what interests you in the songs. That's why I made them. I made them for people to connect to, and yeah, it's been awesome to have an outlet to talk about that and know exactly who wants to know what. So I appreciate that. Secondly, it's official. Professional is coming out. That's right. It's up for pre-order on Bandcamp. The date is locked. The artwork is locked. All of that good stuff. So Professional will be showing up on all DSPs except Spotify on November 4th. If you want to know why it's not coming to Spotify, send me a DM and ask me about it. I'll tell you about it there. But yeah, that's the deal. It's on the way. But yeah, I'd really appreciate if you would hit the links in the description. You can pre-order on Bandcamp right now. Make sure that arrives to you on the day it drops. Or you can pre-save to your DSP of choice, excluding Spotify. All of that stuff really helps. That stuff really helps me cut through the algorithms, and in general, I think just makes your life easier because you get the music that you're already looking forward to as soon as possible. So please do, and tell your friends. And without further ado, let's get into some more questions because I have so many more from all of you, and I am dying to answer them. All right, we've got one from Alavi here. Thank you, Alavi. The drums and fills on Way of the Fist are incredible, somehow chaotic and courageous simultaneously. Is that how it felt when you were going through all of this? Maybe not in the exact moment, but as soon as I started to think about what was happening and how I felt about it and how I felt about these friends who were really just kind of flipping on me and losing their minds and blowing up our relationships and honestly just surprising me with how callous it seemed like they could be with me, a person I thought was a friend of theirs. That's when I really kind of had to find it within myself to stand up for myself a little bit and not just internalize, I don't know, the blame or accusations, or in some cases, not even that, just the outright, just like venom that they had for me. And instead be like, nah, I think you're wrong. I think you're wildin'. I think you're out of pocket. And you need to hear that from me. So when I was making Way of the Fist, I sat with a version of it where it was just that original drum section that I had made and programmed in. And as I added the mallets and everything else and the pianos, I knew that wasn't enough. Like, it just wasn't interesting enough musically, but it was a good place to at least get my bearings in terms of like the feeling that I wanted to write to when I felt like I had the beat locked in. And then last fall, when I was on tour and I was doing an artist residency in Japan, I was sitting with that record for like days on end, and there was just something about being in this space. I was like in 100-year-old like banquet hall where I was like living and working and had set up this studio. Something about being in this very like analog space made it click for me that the thing that I wanted to channel in that track was a very sort of like boisterous analog and very like vintage, almost free jazz kind of feeling. So that's when I went digging for breaks and finding a bunch of like live breaks that felt really energetic and chaotic and danceable at the same time as well. I honestly found a bunch of different breaks and loops and things that I liked, and it was just a matter of like picking ones that worked well together, ones that I could chop up and mix and match in ways that felt like they were carrying the story and the journey of like a point A to B throughout it all. Because I knew that I wasn't going to be just like rhyming for like 64 straight bars. So I really wanted it to be the voice whenever I wasn't. We've got another one about Way of the Fist, and this one actually comes from my label mate and my best bud, Goyama. Goyama asks, what inspired you to structure Way of the Fist this way? It is so anti-formulaic with a single verse in the middle, almost as if the lyrics were the bridge or the solo section of the song rather than the typical other way around. Yeah, that's exactly right. Again, going back to the feeling or at least the inspiration of just free jazz, throughout this whole process, I've been thinking of my voice as just another instrument to put in my productions or put into these beats. And I know that I'm not making pop music. I'm not making the most accessible or the most even comfortable music to listen to. So I don't really let that determine or guide or influence how I think I should structure a song. I come into every song with this guideline of whatever's best for the song, whatever's best for the music, whatever makes the music the best it can be at the thing that I want it to be. Yeah, I had that beat going, you know, you get that like trap section right out of the drop, right out of the transition. You know, instruments come in, the drums change entirely, and we pick up into this like very energetic, almost like a sprint kind of feeling with the jazz drum breaks. And once I kind of like listened to it and was like, all right, here's where I'm gonna start. You know, I wrote what I had to say, got it all off, then just kept going from there and just kept adding more on to the end of that. And, you know, what felt right was to let the instrumental keep playing out and play on a little bit more. So in that sense, I think I did land on a solo section. That verse is just a solo in the midst of this 808 jazz ensemble, as it were. All right, another one from Junia T. Thank you, Junia. Junia asks, who gave you the right to snap like that on Serpentine? Jokes aside, the juxtaposition of the two moods on that are wild. Were those two moments two songs, or was it built as one from the jump? It was built as one from the jump, or not really from the jump, but I did know that I wanted to have a beat switch. I wanted to have like a transition from that intro, that moody jazz vibe, and then into something that was like the quote-unquote real song. When I first started making that beat, I knew that I wanted to try something very low production, almost Griselda-like, almost Knowledge-like, almost just like I just picked a loop and just let it run. I did add like drums and a few other things to it, but I did know that I wanted to have a moment like that on the project in general, because, you know, it kind of reflected how I was feeling. And I've mentioned this in previous videos, feeling a little worn down, a little run down, a little just exhausted of, you know, these people's nonsense. But I also knew that I couldn't carry a whole song like that. I'm not that rapper. I'm not gifted enough to keep that compelling for 3 minutes. So I knew that it was like, yeah, that's how I'm feeling. But I think at large, for the idea and the concept of Serpentine, I knew that the bigger idea was more about this like running, right? Like the running away that somebody's doing. I knew that this could work for like an intro to set up for Serpentine, but then I would add something eventually later. And then, yeah, one day I was just sitting with it a little bit more and I was like, all right, I think I have enough for that intro before a transition. And I had written that first verse, that intro verse. And once I landed on that, oh, I'm going to end it with the question, who exactly got you moving so serpentine? Then I just fired up the montage, started scrolling through sounds, and I picked that very synthetic brass sound because it felt very old school, like 80s, 90s Olympic broadcast theme music, which that was exactly what I wanted because, again, we're talking about this idea of running and the way these people are running away from themselves. It's almost like they're out to set records. So yeah, locked down just like a loop and built out the rest from there. And it's a really strong melodic line, so it wasn't hard to make the rest of the beat around that and add the supporting drums, 808s, pianos, other synths to really add to that. Okay, so I think that's another video. That feels good. I'm going to wrap it up here. But yeah, thank you to everyone who's been sending in your questions. If I haven't answered your question yet, I haven't forgotten. I'm probably about to change this shirt and record some more answers for you, so it feels like I did this on another day. But I love all these questions. Please keep them coming. I'm really excited to keep talking more about this project and this music. And if you have more questions and you've already sent some, I'm not going to say no, right? Like, I'm not going to say no. If you have follow-ups, please hit me up. DM me on Instagram, DM me on Blue Sky, send an email. I love chatting with you guys. I love talking about these songs as long as you love hearing about them. So that's that. Professional comes out November 4th. Shout out to everybody who's been helping me piece it together. Can't wait to talk more about that too. And I really do want to figure out some way for us to get together and listen to this music all together in real life if you're in Toronto. So stay tuned for that. I'm working on some things. Yeah, until then, we'll speak again soon.